Happy Friday morning to you. Fancy and I are out here doing the morning walk. It's another beautiful day in America. Sorry, I'm kind of breathing hard. A little bit gassed. We added a new twist to the morning walk. On the way out, we started doing a little recon shuffle between telephone poles. So you start at one pole, you go all the way down to the other one, at a shuffle. Not really a walk for anybody that's not been in the military. It's not really a walk, it's not really a run. You just go as fast as you can with your pack on. And you end up hunched over like an old man and shuffling down the road. But I don't know how often I'm gonna be able to do that, because I am gassed. Alright. Well, so we've been talking about some really kind of heavy stuff this week. And I want to lighten it up today since it's Friday. You're not seeing this on Friday, but I'm doing it on Friday. I thought that I would unveil the 10 ultimate Gen X or 80 movies list. Now, if you are new to the channel, first off, think about subscribing. If you came to this video based on the title, looking for movie clips, you're not going to see it. Stick around anyway, because we're going to talk about some 80s movies and some 80s experiences. And so what happened was, I had posed the question, oh, come on, Fancy. I had posed the question to everybody, what were their ultimate 80s movies? And I got some great answers. I got so much response, it was awesome. So I started thinking about it, and I compiled a list of the, oh, hang on, Fancy's got to leave a calling card. I put together the 10 ultimate Gen X or 80s movies. And the criteria, here's the criteria. Here's what makes these the ultimate movies. So every movie had to encompass some aspect of coming of age in the 80s, from going from a preteen to a young adult. And I think I nailed it. So tell me what you think. Comment down below and tell me what you think. Okay, so the first 5 movies on the list, you have to watch these movies in order. And I'll explain why as I go through. Alright, so the first movie is Stand By Me. Based on the Stephen King short story. They did a really good adaptation of it. And so the idea behind this movie is going from that preteen into teenager and finding out that the world is kind of a scary place. Right? You start doing stuff on your own and it gets kind of scary. The next movie you have to watch is The Outsiders. Alright, so The Outsiders is about finding your tribe. And every teenager ends up, well, not every teenager. Hopefully every teenager ends up in a tribe. It's a good socialization thing, but you find out who your friends are and you come together. The third movie, and remember, you got to watch these in order. The third movie is The Breakfast Club. Now, The Breakfast Club is about connecting with people outside your tribe and realizing that despite our differences, we still got a lot in common. And that's a key thing for teenagers to figure out. The fourth movie is 16 Candles. And I don't care if you're a boy or girl in the 80s, 16 Candles was a great representation of first love. And I don't know about you guys, but I barely remember my first love, but the one thing I do remember about it was how exciting it was and new. And it just seems to fit the whole coming of age thing. And then the fifth movie is St. Elmo's Fire. And St. Elmo's Fire encapsulates coming of age and becoming a young adult. And you move from puppy love into true love, and you put your childish ways behind you, and you start doing adult things. So those are the first 5 movies. And if you're not a Gen Xer or a millennial, watch the movies in that order, and you'll get a pretty good idea about what it was like growing up in the 80s. Okay, now, the last 5 movies, shall we say the B-side. If you don't know what a B-side is, they used to have these things called vinyl records, and you had the A-side and the B-side. And the B-side was usually all the tracks that weren't going to make it on the radio. Anyway, okay, before we go on with the movie list, I want to share an 80s experience that just is quintessential. This is quintessential. So if you've been listening to the channel or watching the channel for a while, you may have found out that I went to a private military school. My parents were teachers, and they ended up teaching at the school, so I ended up going there. So I was in 8th grade, 79 and 80. And the second semester of my 8th grade year, we started learning algebra. Yes, in 8th grade, we were learning algebra in the 80s. One of the benefits of going to a private school is you get some stuff you usually don't get in public schools. You know, I took Latin in 9th grade, and my other foreign language requirement was a year of German. You don't get that in a lot of places. Anyway, so our math teacher in 8th grade was trying to teach us algebra, and we weren't getting it. We were 8th graders, we were still stupid kids. And so he had a study session at his apartment. All the teachers, well, not all the teachers, but a lot of the teachers lived on campus and were like on site all the time, 24/7. Anyway, so we do our study session. There's 5 or 6 of us, and we get done, and he goes, "Hey, you guys want to hear something funny?" And we're like, "Sure." He breaks out, oh, come on, Fancy. He breaks out Cheech and Chong's wedding album. And for anybody that doesn't know who Cheech and Chong are, they are the epitome. Come on. They are the epitome of 70s and 80s stoner culture. And so here's a bunch of 8th graders listening to the wedding album, learning about the drug counterculture. Very vivid memory in my mind. Anyway, back to the movie list. All right, the B-side. Okay, you may think this is a cop-out. Seriously, you might think it's a cop-out, but it's the only way I can figure out how to do this. I don't have a list. I don't have the quintessential B-side 80s movie list. And here's why. Because everybody's experience was so different. And I realized this whenever I was going through responses as to what the ultimate 80s movies were. I got so many replies from so many people. And the in generalities, the guys that responded back were with movies like Rambo, First Blood, Rocky, Red Dawn, all these action movies. And a lot of the females that responded back, and yes, back in the 80s we only had 2 genders. A lot of the women or females that responded back were movies like Can't Buy Me Love, and all those type, the rom-coms from the 80s. And I realized that everybody's experience was different, and the movies that were quintessential for everybody or as different as their experiences. All right. So my B-side of the 10 ultimate Gen X or 80 movies is going to be different than somebody else's. All right. So here's my B-side. I don't know what's wrong with this dog this morning. Hey, would you knock it off? Come on. So here is my B-side, and in no particular order, okay? These are just movies that really meant something to me, and I'll watch anytime they come on TV or they're on Amazon or streaming or any place. Okay, first one, Vision Quest. I was a wrestler in high school, and it came out when I was wrestling, and it had an awesome soundtrack, and it really encompassed what we wanted to be as wrestlers. Our wrestling team loved that movie. The second movie, Red Dawn. And yes, and here's the reason why. Every guy wants to be the main character in their story. They want to be the hero of their story, and Red Dawn did that for us. No, got a car coming by. All right, so there's the first two. The third one, Weird Science. I love Weird Science just because it is a quirky movie. First time I saw it was on HBO after it hit HBO, and I watched it with one of my best friends, and it was a great night. And so it's got, not only is it a fun movie, it has some good memories attached to it. Fourth movie, Repo Man. It's such a weird movie, but it's got an awesome soundtrack, and just I was punk adjacent. I was not a punk rocker in high school, but I was adjacent to it. I just the whole punk rock scene and the music, I loved it. And what was that? 1, 2, let's see. There's a fourth one. Okay, now the fifth one. And here's where it gets tricky, and I think if you try to do this yourself, you'll find that depending on how you feel at any given time, the movies on your B-side will jump around. So my fifth one, let's see, what is it today? What do I feel like my fifth B-side movie is going to be today? Probably Big Trouble in Little China. Seriously, probably Big Trouble in Little China. Just because it's such a great action movie and the story is awesome, you know. But I'm sitting here and I'm thinking to myself as I'm finishing up this list, I'm like, why didn't you put The Rise and Fall of Western Civilization on that list? If you've never seen that one, it's a documentary about heavy metal, and it's a fantastic expose of the headbanger, and I'm not talking I'm not talking the hair bands. I'm talking like real heavy metal in the 80s. It's a great expose on it, you know. And then I'm thinking, I'm like, oh, if that one's on the list, then you got to put Suburbia on the list. And Suburbia was a independent movie about disenfranchised teenagers that were homeless, and they were punk rockers. And again, fantastic soundtrack. Love the soundtrack from that movie. A lot of the artists on that album came from Enigma Records, you know. And then, yeah, the list goes on. You know, Valley Girl. Valley Girl is the 80s version of Romeo and Juliet in the most excellent and awesome way, you know. So there it is. There's the 10 ultimate Gen X or 80s movies with a couple of honorable mentions put in on the end of it. You know, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I had fun talking with people about 80s movies whenever I was talking about this online with people. I actually went back and watched some of the movies that came up that were talked about. You know, the one thing that struck me though when I realized this is nobody suggested horror movies like the slasher flicks, the Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street, you know, all those the very first wave of the 80s slasher flicks, you know. But all these movies got into the zeitgeist and basically helped mold who we were in the 80s. Made us who we are today. All right. Okay, look, we're almost home. Fancy's been all over the place this morning. But we're almost home. You guys comment down below. Let me know what you think of the movie list. And let me know if I missed any that are quintessential 80s movies that you just feel should be on the A side, that need to be on the A side. Oh, one more before we go. Pretty in Pink. Man, you change that story a little bit and it goes from being Pretty in Pink to Ducky's Tale. And it's a fantastic story. You know, if that secondary quest that Ducky's on. Anyway, you guys, if you're not a subscriber, thank you for making this far. Think about subscribing. We talk about all kinds of stuff, kind of scattershot. Comment down below if you guys want to support the channel. Go hit our affiliate links. Most importantly, go out and live a life done free. Take care. Thanks, Milo.